Hey people, I'm Sim Collins from Couple Technology, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some advantages of using the PnP generator over the Microsoft generator. If you're doing SPFx development, you've probably heard about PnP. The PnP community provides tons of help to streamline your projects, and pretty much from the start of my SPFx journey I've used PnP in some way. But I didn't learn about the generator until recently, and I wanted to share some favorites that will probably apply to almost any project. As always, if you're on Twitter, follow me at CMC148 and feel free to ask questions here or in the comments on Twitter. For the demo, we're going to start with how to get the PnP generator set up on your machine. After it's installed, we're going to create a new SPFx project using the PnP generator and discuss some of the additional options it provides that Microsoft doesn't. While we're creating the project, you'll also see some of the different versions PnP generator makes available. Lastly, I want to show you the benefits of some included gulp commands and talk about how they can help you develop and deploy faster. Helpful to know. To get the most out of this video, you'll need to be familiar with creating SPFx projects with Yo at Microsoft/SharePoint. Things like adding dependencies to your project and fighting with the versions of those dependencies, as well as deploying solutions to SharePoint Online. And then here's our versions. Slides are done, demo time. To get started installing the generator, we want to jump to their documentation because this is going to be up to date all the time with how best to do it. So in their site, we're going to scroll down and you can see that it says install. We are going to use the npm version and it is just a single line. That is it. That is all we're going to need. Now before we install this, I want to show you that there's no current version installed. So let's look and see what we have installed. So we're doing npm ls, which is going to list all of them, -global. Depth is going to be 0, so we're just getting the top layer. And you can see that we are on Microsoft SharePoint Generator 1.11.0, we're on Gulp 4.0.2, and Yo 3.1.1. Once we enter this command, this npm install global, the -g is for global, at pnp/generator-spfx, it's going to install it globally. Once it finishes installing, we're going to run the same command again to check our versions, and we will see that it is going to be in there as well. So we're still on the same version of the SharePoint generator, and Gulp and Yo, those are all still the same. We just have added this PnP generator for SPFx, which is version 1.16.1. Now that we've installed it, we can start using it. First thing you want to do is you want to browse to a folder or create a folder where you want to create your SPFx project. Now that I've navigated to a folder where I want to create the project, instead of doing Yo space at Microsoft/SharePoint, we're going to do Yo space at PnP/SPFx and hit enter. We're going to get additional options as well as the out-of-the-box ones that we're used to from the Microsoft generator. This being the first one, we're just going to go with the online. And then in frameworks, if we go down a couple, you'll see that we have the React and No framework that we're used to from the Microsoft generator. But these 4 top options are available, which will be pre-installed in your... Sorry, it's just 3, that one's disabled. So these 3 options you can also add to your project before you even do anything to your code. I am familiar most with React, so we're going to go with React. And then this section really shines. This is the libraries, and this is not something that's available at all in the Microsoft version. If you're like me, you use a few things pretty much repeatedly throughout all of your projects. So I'm just going to go through and select some of these, get some controls, and hit enter. Now because I selected the Office UI Fabric, the PnP generator gives us a really cool option that instead of using the 6.0 or 6.2 or whatever, it's 6 dot something that comes with the Microsoft version, This allows us to use the 7 version, which the only big difference I've been able to see so far, that problems where I've run into actually needing the 7 version, is with the planner icon. Other than that, they seem to be pretty much the same. The language is going to be a little bit different, but this at least allows you to change the version should you need. So we're going to go ahead and click 7. The other thing, a lot of projects require different versions of TypeScript. Maybe you've run into this, maybe you haven't yet, but it's good to just know in the back of your mind that if you do run into it, there is a workaround when you need to go above the 3.3 that Microsoft supports. For this project, we are just going to click 3.3. I don't want to get into the vetting options in this video, so we're going to skip over it. Not going to get into that or any testing. And now we're into what is the standard Microsoft out-of-the-box experience with our generator. We're going to go ahead and let the name be the same. A lot of the out-of-the-box features here, we're going to select web part. We're just going to let it be named Hello World because this isn't a real demo. I'm just showing you a couple of the features. And leave the description the same. And then we're going to go ahead and let it install the dependencies. I'm going to pause the video. Then we'll come back when it's done. We're going to open the project and check it out. Alright, it's complete. So let's hop into our code editor and take a look at what it has installed. So I want to take you into the package.json, and you'll see that we have a bunch more dependencies, both standard and dev dependencies, and this is all of the things that it installed because of those selections that we made. So when we want to come up here and do things like add a property pane, come into our web part base, and we want to add one of the PnP controls. Let's say we're going to add lists, which is going to be a string or string. I can't spell. And then we'll drop down into our property pane and paste in just a list picker. So this we imported from the SPFx property controls and from the property field list picker. You'll notice we didn't have to do an additional install here because it was already installed for us. Let's run it and see what it looks like. And we can add our web part. This is what we were expecting. And then if we come in to edit our web part, our property control is there. Glitch. Our property control is there, and we were able to add it super fast because everything was installed before we even started our project. The last thing I want to talk about is deploying your project, whether it be in development version or in production version, and how to speed that up. We're used to running bundle and package to get your project ready to be deployed to the app catalog, but they've included a really cool feature to speed up this process. We're talking dist and dev. In dist, it's going to combine the clean, bundle, and package solution, so you only have to run the one command to get all three things completed. You have the same thing, but without the -- ship, so we can deploy with one command, and we can deploy to our app catalog for SharePoint. I want to show you that now. We're going to start with dev. So let's come back into our project. We're going to cancel that, and we're going to do gulp dev. It's going to do its thing. We should see a SharePoint folder be created here in just a second, which is going to have our package. There it is. All three commands were run. If you are like me and maybe you are used to running just the bundle and package, you should be running clean as well, and this will remember for you if you forget, or maybe you didn't know in the first place. All right, we're going to come into our SharePoint folder, And then in here, you can see we've got all this fun stuff. We have our package right here, so we're going to go to Reveal in File Explorer so we can see our package. Instead of deploying this to our tenant app catalog, I'm actually going to be deploying this to a site app catalog, just so I don't have to blur my screen, to be completely honest. Alright, so we're here and I have already set it up so it's ready to go, not to bore you guys with the details. We're going to come back into our folder and drag over our package that was created. And right here you can see that this is calling localhost, so we know that this is a dev deployment. So we're going to hit deploy. Give it just a moment. I think it's ready. We're going to come back home and then we are going to add, we need to come into content. We can be wherever we want. We need to add an app to the page. And it's going to show the latest one that you added. So we're going to click on that. We're going to just hop back home while it's doing its thing. So we can add this to the page, give it an extra refresh, just give it a little bit more time. And then we need to deploy our web part. It's called Hello World. And nothing's running because this is the dev version, so we need to hop back into the code and we need to do the gulp serve again. But we're going to do a no browser on it, and I'm even going to spell it right this time. And then once that starts running, I didn't spell it right. Once that starts running, there we go. We can see our web part in our page now. And if we go into configure it, we're going to have all of the same options. Well, we're going to have more options in the list, but we're going to have the same options in the property pane. We're going to have more options in the list to select because we have more lists because we're accessing the actual site instead of just some mock-up data. Now we're going to republish this and we're going to hop back into the code. We're going to stop it and then we're going to run gulp dist, and this is going to run the clean, the bundle with --ship, and the package solution --ship. So it is going to be ready for a production deployment. Beautiful. Alright, we're going to go back into our site contents because we need to update our app catalog. We're going to go into app for SharePoint, grab our updated solution. I just went back to the same folder and drop it in. Failed to drop it in the first time and then drop it in. We're going to replace it. It's showing that we are pointing towards SharePoint Online instead of looking at our local host. This means that it is production. It's ready to go. That doesn't mean that you're deploying it to production. It just means that you don't have to be serving off your local workstation. Just in case anyone's interested in that. Alright, we're going to right click because we've previously deployed this. So when we publish a new version, we're going to need to check it in. So we're going to hit check in. Don't want to retain anything, just click OK. And then when we come back to our home page, it is going to be running continually. We come in here, you can see we're not served. So this is running on our SharePoint Online instance as opposed to running off our local workbench. And if we come in to edit the properties, again, our property pane has the same options and we are able to select a list. Alright, the last thing I want to go over is that I'm going to include links to all of this documentation as well as just the general PnP documentation in case you are curious. I hope you learned something today. Thank you so much for watching.